Morning, everybody. I am so pleased and grateful this morning to introduce you to and welcome my friend and colleague, the Reverend Jennifer McCracken, and also John Lane from the MANA program of our diocese. Our Mission Commission has invited Jennifer and John to speak as part of our focus on the issue of homelessness. Jennifer is a former nurse. And she has always, since I've known her, exemplified Christ's role as healer. She's worked for the Boston Healthcare for the Homeless, and right now she is the head pastor of MANA, which stands for Many Angels Needed Now and Always. And you will be invited to donate through our Eastertide offering to MANA. So Jennifer will speak first, and then she will introduce us to John.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting John and I to be with you today. I'm going to keep my mask on because I am in a public space here at the cathedral. I am noticing that my internet connection is a little unstable, so I hope that that you can hear me okay. John will leap from my office if not. So again, we are so delighted to be here with you today and to talk about our community. MANA, as Holly mentioned, that Many Angels Needed Now and Always was named by the community. You might know about the Monday lunch program here at the cathedral that has been serving the unhoused community for, oh gosh, almost 4 decades now. And the community itself, about 12 or 13 years ago, when Reverend Christina Rathbone came into the community, really wanted to change the way people outside of this community connected and was in relationship with people at the cathedral. So really what Tina did most effectively was to empower the people that parishes were serving to serve alongside one another. And that was a really important change for this community because it lifted the gifts of everybody in this community, that oftentimes we think that people in great need have nothing to offer, but they have a great deal to offer. And that was one of the most impactful changes that took place these last 10 or 15 years here in the MANA community. So I do know that that in learning about homelessness, the human condition, it's rather important to know the wider effects of homelessness in our city and in our nation. And to that end, I sent Holly a document with the results of the annual homeless census for 2020 in the city of Boston. It's conducted every year. It's a HUD requirement. And that will give you a lot of the facts and the numbers about youth homelessness, family homelessness, and adult homelessness in the city. I know that our time today, John, and my time with you is rather short. And so I wanted to send that along to Holly so that you could digest that on your own time, and we would be happy to speak with anyone further by email or by phone if there are other questions about that. But really what we felt today was most important was to talk about people. And because homelessness is not just a human condition, it is about people and their experience of homelessness. And so that's really what we want to focus on this morning. It's important, it feels important to me to let you know that one thing that we do here at the cathedral is not simply care for homeless people, that we do believe that there is not just a caring and charity side to people experiencing homelessness, but there's also a justice side. And so therefore it's important that we in this community engage the community itself in ending homelessness. And so About 4 years ago, the community was having some issues with some of the shelter operations and contacted the mayor's office and asked if somebody could come and visit us and hear about their reflections about their experiences in the shelter system. And the mayor responded by sending people from the Department of Neighborhood Development down, and through that was formed our Back Home Council, which is a council of 12 people that advises the mayor's office on policies that are being created and shelter reform and things like that. So MANA has a very active role with the city also to try to put an end to homelessness. So it's both caring for people that are experiencing homelessness and working towards ending it. The last thing I want to say before I introduce John, because really John's voice is the voice that I really want you to hear today, is that for me, our gospel lesson today is a reminder that we don't always recognize the risen Christ, even when he's standing right in front of us. That we want some kind of assurance or proof before we can believe that the broken, wounded person before us embodies Christ himself. I think it's because we create for ourselves, a mental picture of who Christ is and what Christ looks like. And Jesus always asks us to stretch that knowledge and see his wounded hands in every person that we meet, especially those who are suffering, to know that Christ is alive in them. And this is what the MANA community teaches me on a daily basis. So I would like to introduce to you John Lane, who is my friend and colleague here in this ministry. John volunteers for MANA and all kinds of other ministries around the city, and has learned through his own lived experience of being homeless how to care compassionately for people that are in the experience of homelessness. By homelessness, we mean people who are living on the street, people who are living in shelters, and also people who are transitionally housed, that being put in a room or being put in a house after years of living in the experience of homelessness is not that easy. It's just not that simple. That there are a lot of things that go along, a lot of trauma that goes along with being homeless, and those are the things that need support when people are housed. So, John, I turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Jennifer, and thank you very much, all of you, for having us here today with you. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about MANA and what it is that MANA does. Right before this, Jennifer and I were in a Sunday morning meeting that we have here at the Cathedral called Coffee Klatch. And the topic is never predetermined. We've had meetings on very serious topics affecting the community in terms of housing or issues around the common bathrooms, issues dealing with some of the harsh treatment that folks on the street get. And then we've had wonderful conversations once about everybody's favorite roller coaster from childhood. So it can be any kind of conversation in this committee meeting, this morning meeting we have every Sunday, before we then go up to the Cathedral to, in non-COVID times, join the congregation as a whole. But in COVID times, we actually are the congregation in place. Cathedral Church takes place just like yours on Zoom, and we get to watch it on big screens, and we're one of the screens. But one of the most beautiful things about MANA is that this conversation really takes a lot of time to go and discuss what's happening to MANA, what we're doing on a normal week, or in COVID, the changes that we had to make, the changes we had to make in building occupancy or separation, or how we were doing food, or how we were doing the entrance, or any one of the multitude of things that we had to change as we went through COVID. And we spend a lot of time on process, and sometimes people like grumble, like, well, why are you spending so much time on process? But the point of doing that is really because we want everybody here to feel as though they are part of the community. They are not a community of people who are receiving services. They are part of the community that are making the decisions and are affecting their own lives and the lives of the people who are going through the very same things that they are. And I think that's what makes Manna special. Boston has a lot of resources. You can go and get a cup of coffee or a free meal in quite a few places. There are lots of places, even in COVID. They're not inside, many of them. Matter of fact, we were one of the few places that stayed with hot meals inside. But there are meals that you can get to go if you know about it. And once you've been here a little while, you will know about it. And if you're staying in the shelters especially, you're not going to go hungry. But this is one of the few places, certainly pre-COVID, where a person who is on the streets would be able to serve that cup of coffee to someone depending on the day. And if you came in and you had a lot of energy and it was your day and you felt great, you could be the person walking around and serving lunch. And if it was a day where you just weren't up to it, then you could be the person that day who just got to sit and be served. And that sort of reciprocity is just rare. It's something that's rare to find in a program that really involves people experiencing homelessness in their own care and their own community and developing the spiritual community that they get to have. And that is so important because on any given day, homelessness sucks. And during COVID, it sucks even worse. You know, I've talked to congregations before, and the quickest way I can get somebody to understand some of the day-to-day experiences of homelessness, especially in shelters or in some of the service providers, is everybody here, I assume at one point or another, has had to renew their license or register a car or something like that. And we've all been to the RMV, and you stand in the line to get a form, to sign the form, and then be told you got to go to this. Well, no, you got to go over here. No, you know, imagine everything you had to do, from getting on a bus to getting lunch to getting dinner to getting a ticket for bed to getting sheets for bed. Every single moment of your life was a line at the RMV. And that what really is for a lot of people. You go here, you go there, and if you ask why, the answer most likely is because that's the way it is, or that's what the sign says. We don't know. We're not going to figure it out or argue with you. This is just the way it is. You don't have a say. We don't even have a say. Just do it. Shut up. Keep moving. And to be in a place where you're not just welcomed in because you're supposed to be here, but to be really welcomed in, to be asked in, to be told that this is where you belong. And not only do you belong here, but you are, by virtue of your being here, part of the leadership team. You are making decisions. They're not always going to go exactly the way you might want. It's obviously there are certain larger issues. In COVID, we had to always, of course, keep safety in the forefront. And there are people in that meeting, I will tell you this morning, just as there were the first meeting we had masks, who don't like the masks and would be very happy if we weren't wearing them. And of course, we've got to continue wearing the masks, but at least they're not just dismissed out of hand. We listen, we talk it through, and people come out, even if they don't get their way, feeling like, well, I got to vent, or I got my side heard. And that is so vital for people in a community who just feel as though oftentimes the very best thing they can hope for is to just be overlooked. That if someone's paying attention to them, it's not going to end well. If someone's paying attention to them, it's going to be a hassle for them. To have somebody pay attention to them, to want to hear what they have to say, and then to, if possible, act on it, or if not, at least explain in real terms, not just because we said so, why what it is that they want can't happen. it gives an incredible kind of dignity that is lacking in so many of the other facets of a day in the life of a homeless person. And I mean, I know I said earlier that homelessness sucks. It's not all horrible. I spent 5 years or so in this city, chronically homeless in Boston, and I met a lot of wonderful people. And I met some friends that I still have to this day, because you need to have somebody watching your back. It's really tough to be homeless alone. It's very difficult. You need somebody to watch your bag while you run into the library to use the restroom. You need somebody when you're in the shelter to, if you're going to hop in the shower, to make sure your stuff doesn't go running away. And so you do have this community that you create on your own. But I think the beautiful thing about Manna is that you can bring those smaller communities that you make on your own and then grow them here with other people who are in other smaller communities. And then do it all sort of in a framework of, certainly we're a Christian church. We make no apologies for that. We talk about our community and the way that we look at faith through Jesus and through the Christian Bible. But we're not only a Christian church. You can come here and you can be any religion or no religion. And you will find people who will radically welcome you, be glad that you're here, will tell you, and I've been told point blank at Manna, this is the terminology we use, this is what we believe. But if it helps you to see it as love, or the power of cooperation and community, or everyone's innate humanity, or the nature of the universe, whatever filter it is that you see the divine through, then that is what we talk about here, and that is what we try to practice here, and that is why you are welcome here. And for me, I'm very blessed in that after being a community member of Manna and being someone who maybe volunteered on an ad hoc basis, I was given an opportunity to maybe be a little more formalized and do a little more. But every time, I find that I'm doing something a little more, I walk away going, now I know that I owe Manna even more, because the feeling I get from being here and the community and the sense of purpose that I get from being here is incredible. And I know for a fact that I am not alone in that, and that people who are here for the first day or people who are here for the millionth time share in that feeling that I get. When they walk through those doors and somebody says, come on in, downstairs, we've got hot food, we've got coffee, here's some hand sanitizer, just to make, you got a good mask, you need a new one. And you know that you're going to a place that's going to be safe, and a place where they're not just going to tolerate you. They're going to accept you for who you are, whatever situation you're coming in and coming from, and that you're going to be just, if not okay, because it's not always that you come out okay. We can't solve every problem in a day, but you're going to gain a little hope here. You're always going to gain a little hope, and if you keep coming back, that builds. So again, thank you so much for having Jennifer and I. It was our pleasure to be here, and we will be here, I believe, for coffee hour afterwards, and we're happy to answer any questions. So thanks again.
Thank you so much, Jennifer and John. That was just wonderful. And yes, reiterating that if you'd like to ask questions or find out more, please come to coffee hour today.